as actors, we don't judge the character, right? We just try to empathize with them and understand them so that we can tell their story from a truthful place. I can't sit there and think, oh, I wonder if I got it. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're going to get back to me. Oh, I hope I get it. If I am in that mindset, then I'm already defeating myself. Mm-hmm. What I have to do is, art is healing. I feel art is healing, and I feel grateful that I found an art that I can heal with and heal from. Heal through. And this was my chance. Like, if I could apply for a Plunge and Go Away, this is my chance to do one thing for me.
But yeah, thank you, Sonia, for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy. I know you are from San Jose. Your parents are from Texas. Do you know how they moved to San Jose, or what was the story behind?
Actually, my mom is from Texas, and my grandparents, they're from West Texas, but my dad was born in California, but my family's from Mexico. They're from Guadalajara, this Via Corona, and it's in Guadalajara. But my parents were first generation here, and actually my grandparents on my mom's side were born in Texas too, but their families from Mexico. So my dad was born in California, but my family was born very poor, right? My dad, they lived in a labor camp since he was born up until he was 13. So, outhouses, showering outdoors up until he was 13, didn't move into a real home, right? Mm-hmm. So working the fields as children after school, that was just their life. My mom too. They lived in a house here and there, but then they also traveled with the different, working the fields, and they traveled they also lived in labor camps as well. So they had a tough upbringing, but they also worked really hard to build a better life for themselves. Yes. And then for us once they had a family. So, but yeah, my family's from Mexico, and my family's from West Texas. My mom's family is from West Texas, Tex-Mex. I love my grandfather. My mom's side, he spoke Spanish, but when he spoke Spanish, it had a Texas like twang. And I wish I had a recording of him to play it, because I tell people that and they're like, oh, what does that sound like? I'm like, you just had to hear him. Like, I loved his Spanish.
And back then we didn't have like everything we have like in the cell phone or the technology.
We didn't have a recording or a tape recorder or something to record him.
I know. And I in another podcast, I listened to one of your stories, a childhood story that I would love to hear. You mentioned that you were so introvert. I cannot believe you're an introvert person, but
nobody can believe that.
Nobody. I cannot believe it. But you mentioned when you guys moved to another house, the kids around in the neighborhood, they didn't know you were living there.
Oh my God, you watched that podcast?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, yes. It's a funny story.
I was like,
okay. What is she talking about? I'm like, oh wow, you just brought back my memory because I forgot about that. We moved we moved to the house they're in now when I was 4 years old. And growing up, there's my older sister and I. We're only a year and 3 months apart. And so we're really close, but actually, funny story. My sister was planned. I was not planned. They were on birth control. My mom got pregnant. They were not my sister was only 6 months old, I think.
Wow.
They were not expecting to have another child. So I was the only one of my siblings that was not planned. And I came into this world for a reason. So living my purpose. But anyhow, my older sister was always my protector. Mm-hmm. She was always just someone to look after me and watch over me because we were close in age, but she just has a very strong rebellious spirit. Mm-hmm. And resilient and just outspoken and social butterfly. And so we moved to a house, our first home, when I was 4. And I'm just shy. I was shy and introverted, and my social skills were just, I don't know what it was. I was just afraid all the time, or I can't really explain it other than I just wanted to be by myself, right? It was like the safe place was for me to be alone or in my room reading. I was a creative person always, so I was always doing things. It wasn't like I was hiding. I was actually wanting to be alone to read or to listen to music or to dance or to create or to build things or to learn things. I was really just always in that world.
It
right?
wasn't like, oh, you know what? See, if you were 4, you probably were in elementary school. No,
Not yet.
Kinder.
I wasn't in school yet. Not until
okay.
I turned 5. And
Okay, because I was like, maybe people bullying you or something.
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have any experiences like that, from up until 4 or anything. So it wasn't a reason for me to be afraid of going outside or socializing with people. It was just, I felt more comfortable being by myself and creating and learning on my own. And I don't know, I just was an introvert, and then I was shy. And then when I was around people, it was just difficult for me to socialize, right?
Yeah.
I was an observer, so I just observed the adults, observed the people, observed the other kids. I would just observe the way they behaved, and it was like that was my role, right? So we moved in the summer, and I was in my room the whole time. I just was always in the room. My sister, she got to know the whole neighborhood. She knew every kid's name in the neighborhood, every adult who owned the house, everything. And then one day in the summertime, I just decided to come outside and play.
This is the day.
This is the day I'm going to come outside and play. And it was not like I didn't realize I had been only in my room that whole time. Like I didn't realize I didn't know anybody. It was just like, oh, I'm going to go out and play today. So I went out, and my sister's there with me, and I just started engaging with my sister because she's really the only person I knew. And then the kids in the neighborhood were asking her, "Who's that?" She's like, "That's my sister." And they're like, "You have a sister?" She's like, and my sister, the way she is, she's like, "Yeah, dummy, I have a sister. You didn't know she lived here." So it was quite funny to be discovered as the child that lived in that neighborhood that they didn't know lived there. my shy introvert self.
And after that, did you continue going to play, or you are like, okay, I'm out for one day, see you in the next year?
That's actually good. That's a good question. I think I got to know a few people and just kind of dip my toe in the water and, okay, who's this? Who's that? Okay. All right. I've had enough. I'm going to go back inside and do my own thing. I also mostly hung out with the adults. Like I just found their conversations engaging, or I don't know. I just observed the adults in the room, or had conversations with adults mostly.
Which is a quality of actors, actress an actress be observant. Because I always listen to stories like, if I like the other day I was listening to another podcast and it was like a Mexican actor and he's like, yeah, I take public transportation because I like to observe people. You're like, yeah.
That's coffee shops are a good place. Sitting in the park is a good place. Anywhere where there's a window where you can watch people, it's a great place. Just watching people behave, human behavior, Even when I went home for the holidays, I watched my nieces, and just observing the way they behave and their excitement and the way they express themselves. Just beautiful, to observe human behavior. It's really beautiful. So taking the moment to just watch people is it's kind of what we do.
Yeah, and it's also, I forgot the word, but it's like, I'm just gonna make something ridiculous, but it's like eating, no? Like getting energy from, or creativity.
Like nurturing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like nurturing your soul.
Yeah. But I love what you said. I was super quiet and shy. So when I see my niece and my nephew screaming out, there's a funny story. yeah, I was playing with them the other day back in the holidays, and my nephew was like, "Record my sister." I'm like, "No, no, no," and I start recording her. She was like, "Don't record me. Give me the phone." My mom say nobody should record me. I'm like, "Wow, bravo, like bravo,
yes.
like I was not recording you for a bad reason. I was gonna send the video to your mom, but I was like, I wish I could be like when I was a kid. I will be quiet." And I love to see the kids like that they
assert themselves, right? To have the confidence, but also the permission, because I feel like we don't always give children permission to express themselves or assert their opinion, right? Like do this and do that and behave versus, okay, I'm not comfortable with this. Let me tell you, I'm not comfortable with you recording me. But you know, she said it to you and you're like, oh, well, if I was a kid, I don't know if I would have said that, but
me neither. I will be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, no, but oh my god. And then I also, I listen another podcast, of course, and you have a beautiful story how you find your calling, your passion, which is acting. And I remember is when you correct me if I'm wrong, but you say you were in 6th grade and it was for an English class, a speech assignment. Yes. Can you share with us that story?
Yes. Because I grew up shy and very quiet, just observing, right? Introvert, watching people. I didn't really I wasn't like a social extroverted person. I didn't have that type of personality. So, it was difficult for me to be in a social setting. It was just difficult, right? To be in a group of like a room of people I didn't know or a group of people. I was good one-on-one with my friends or people that I knew, and I could be good, you know, in a small space social setting, but larger settings really made me nervous. And so when our 6th grade English teacher assigned us a speech to write and memorize and recite in front of the class, that was the first time I did the assignment. I was a good student, so I'm like, oh, assignment, okay, I have to do this, so follow steps and do it. So I did that, and I remember writing the speech on flashcards and just being in my bedroom, just going through the flashcards and then testing myself. And then next thing you know, I was like, oh, I memorized it. I know this speech. So we did it in front of the class, and I had no problem. It was weird because if I was in the class and I had to talk and not know what I was going to say, I would have been very nervous and scared. But because I had rehearsed the speech and I memorized it, I was comfortable and rehearsed it. I was comfortable presenting it to the class. And so that's when I realized, wow, this felt good. Let me do more of this, right? In whatever way. But not until later I connected the dots with acting, where you memorize a script and then you can practice and rehearse your performance, and then you can get in front of a large crowd and perform it.
But that day on the 6th grade, I'm not sure if you remember, but you didn't feel like nervous or butterflies in your stomach, like, oh my god, I have to be rehearsing in front of the whole class?
I did have that feeling, and I still have that feeling today. Always. I'm always nervous, but it's the feeling afterward to say I got through it and I did well. Okay. So after getting through it, right, I'm still nervous, but I got through it. And then to get the teacher telling me you did great. And then in that particular case, when I did that speech for school, we ended up doing it for the whole school. And then we went on to the district to do it. And it was just like, I was put in a position where they, the adults told me, you did great. Let me, you're going to elevate to the next level. You're going to say the speech in front of the school now. Oh, you did great. You're going to say the speech in front of the district now. Oh, you did great. You're going to go do this. And so that one assignment took me to all these places. Like I remember another English teacher taking us on a field trip to go watch a play, all because that speech. Right? Wow. So it was like taking me, that moment took me to all these different opportunities that I thought, wow, if doing this one assignment where I memorized the lines and I rehearsed it and I did really well, gave me all these opportunities, opened all these doors, then maybe I'm good at it and maybe I can do more of it. So,
of course. Yeah. Wow. I will be checking. Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, because I love see, acting is not for me, obviously. Then you did theater back in middle school, right?
I did theater in high school.
Okay.
So I didn't start theater until high school, but I did dance. So creatively, I was also dancing with friends in middle school on a dance team, and then also in high school. But I did my first actual play freshman year in high school. We did The Crucible. I auditioned for that and I was really nervous. And that's really where it took off. So I did a little of everything. In high school, I did, how did I do this? So, as soon as I turned 16, I started working. So I was going to school, I was working, I was on the cross country team, track team, I did theater, I babysat my siblings, and I danced. So I had a full schedule.
How
When
do
I
you
was in
make
high
everything
school.
happen? Because you also have assignments. Is when you start having a lot of assignments and they're, writing and essays.
I think when I was in the 6th grade also, a lot of things happened, I think, when I was 12 in middle school. A lot of life changes, the speech, which I didn't realize until later when I was reflecting that that's really what the turning point was, or the milestone. But also my baby sister was born and my parents worked a lot. So, imagine my mom and dad working 12-hour days each and a newborn in the house, right? Yeah. She's 6 weeks old. My mom goes back to work because her leave is done. And so, my mom gives me the baby and she's like, okay, that's how you change your diaper. I already knew because my brother was already born. He was 6 at that time, and I helped them a lot with him. But so my mom went to work at 6. She started at 6 p.m. So she left around 5:30. So she gave me the baby. She's 6 weeks old. I'm 12. Okay. My dad's working. He worked overtime. He worked so much just to provide for the family. Both of my parents did. So I'm 12. They give me my 6-week-old sister. I'm watching my older sister because she was the rebel of the family. Myself doing homework, 12 years old. I'm watching my little brother who's 6 years old. So there's 4 kids in the house, including myself. I have homework to do. I have to make sure my sister's taken care of, change her, feed her. And so I basically became a mom at 12 with my little sister. And so she would sleep with me. I had her bassinet in my, room. The bassinet was next to me. So I'd wake up in the middle of the night because my mom worked nights. So she would go to work, start from 6 p.m., get off at 6 a.m. My dad would get home 11 o'clock at night. And he was so tired from work, he wasn't going to get up and change her, feed her. So I'm 12, with a baby. Pretty much. So that was a life-changing, year for me where all these things were happening. And it was like a moment, like I grew up, I became an adult really young and I had to think like, it's not just me. I got to take care of this family. I got to take care of this child. I got to take care of myself, my grades. And I was also on honor roll, right? So I was getting good grades. And so I had to figure out how to get it done. And I can't go back and tell you how I did it. Other than I just had to do it. You just had to figure it out, right? So I remember staying up late at night doing work, middle school, high school, getting home super tired from cross country practice and then going to my, theater rehearsals and then coming home and having to do homework. I don't even know if I slept. I made it happen. I got it done. So those things in my life just helped me figure out, like, just don't think about it. You just do it. Like if you sit and think about it, then you're going to make an excuse as to why you're not going to get those things done. But you just got to keep moving, right?
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, maybe your motivation, it was like you were seeing your parents working so hard. And you're like, okay, I also have to finish school, and they already have a lot of things going on in their plate. So I don't want to get bad grades. I don't want to miss my theater. I'm sorry. I don't want to miss my cross country practice. And also, I don't want them to have extra work with the baby, so I can get this done. And yes, you grow up. You were a baby, but you grow up. Like life put you in that way. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was tough, but it was also, I feel like everything that I've experienced in my life set me up for who I am today, right? Even the bad things, they really just give you strength, lessons, perspective, fortitude, things that help build your character, that give you the strength to do greater things. And so looking back, I'm thankful for those experiences, right? I'm thankful. And my parents did work very hard, right? It wasn't like they were out, not trying to do something good. It was they were all about family, all about supporting the family. And because I knew how they grew up, very poor, extremely poor, and I knew that we were in a home because they were working so hard. And so I appreciated that about them. And then it also taught me how to work hard too. Like, if my parents are working hard, I'm not going to sit here and be lazy and not work hard either. But it was something, my parents too, with all my siblings, which they mentioned this today, and they're retired now, but they say, we've never told our kids to work. We never told our kids, like, go out and get a job. They never told us that. As soon as we turned eligible to, like, the age that we could work, we went and found jobs, right? The day I turned 16, I applied for my first job, and I never stopped working since then. And my siblings, the same thing. They've all worked, like, since we were teenagers, right? And they look back and they're like, we never told you to do that. You guys did it on your own. But it was because they were good examples, right?
Yeah, the education in the way you guys were raised. And it's awesome. Like, now they can say, we never push our kids to work. They wanted to be independent. They follow our direction, our path. And wow, do you remember your first job at 16?
I do remember my first job, but I had a job before that was under the table. So when I was 12, my cousin and I, we went to the Berryessa flea market is in San Jose. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's a really big flea market, and they have all these shops, that like t-shirt shops and sock shops and like everything you can think of. So I remember asking my dad if he could drop my cousin and I off at the flea market so we can just go ask one of the vendors if we could work for like cash.
Whoa.
And so we did, and we went and asked around, and folks didn't need help, and this one woman needed help folding t-shirts. I'm like, okay. So she paid us to fold t-shirts for the day, and that's what we did. So I was like always looking for ways to make money.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't like, they couldn't hire me because I was only 12, but I was like, I got to make some money somehow. I don't know. And I didn't have to. I mean, we had what we needed. We didn't have more than what we needed, right? So we just had what we needed. And if I wanted more, then I had to like, work for it. And so, it was just one of those things where I knew I was capable of making money. So let me figure out a way to do that. But when I turned 16, my first legal job was, actually before the legal job, I would wrap presents. So,
wow.
And so my dad kind of figured this out for me. So my dad worked for a utility company. He worked in the gas department. So very labor intensive job, but all of his guy friends were really like these really burly men, right? And so whenever their wives would have a birthday or an anniversary, they would bring the gift to the house and I would wrap it for them because I loved wrapping, and I would just like make it really nice and cute. And since I was a kid, I did that, right? My mom taught me, like, it was just like, I was a perfectionist. Everything is like super perfect with a bow. So he would bring his friends gifts, and then they would pay me to wrap their gifts. So like $5 to wrap a gift or whatever.
Wow.
When I was a kid, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. Yeah.
And then Christmas time, I would make so much money because they would bring all their Christmas presents over to the house for their kids, the wives, and everybody, and they would pay me to wrap them. So that was another kind of job.
And you were saving the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I remember too. When I was a kid, I got $5. I felt like, wow, I'm rich. What I'm gonna do with $5?
I know. So then by the time my legal age came and I was able to work, I got a job at Paramount's Great America, which is the amusement park up in the Bay Area. And I worked in the merchandise department. So all the little shops that they have, the souvenir shops. But that's where things transitioned very quickly for me, because I started off in merchandise, but then I applied for a team lead position there. And then I got the team lead position. And then the next season, when I went back, I applied for the supervisor position. I got the supervisor position. And so I ended up working there for 4 years, I think. But I ended up managing the different sections of the park, like an entire section of like retail shops and kiosks and folks. And I remember I was 17 years old and I had like 20 employees.
Wow.
And several different, shops that I had to manage revenue and inventory for, manage, loss, merchandising. And I was a kid, really. I was a teenager, right? But I was managing employees that were older than me. So they were over 18 and they could work overtime and I couldn't. So it was like, I was a teenager, but I was managing an entire business at the park, right? In different parts. So then they moved me from the middle of the park to the front of the park, where it was more, the revenue was higher. It was just a lot busier. And so it was more intensive. And so that was a challenge, but it was exciting because I loved doing that. So a couple things I realized while I was doing that is I'm really good at leadership and business. And so just operating, a lot of moving parts, people, revenue, dollars, just inventory, merchandise, just all managing a lot of things. And I was only a kid, right? I was 16, 17, 18.
And you have a lot of, like, the responsibility of someone.
And then I had to go home and, and I was still in cross country and I was still in theater and I was, going to school and watching my sisters and my brother. And so it was a lot. It was a lot, but I didn't know it was a lot. I just thought that was a normal life, right? Mm-hmm. So I went off to college. I wanted to major in acting, right? Because I knew that's what I wanted to do. My dad's like, nope, you're going to major in business. But I mean, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm happy with that. It was a good call.
Yeah. And you went to Cal Poly in San Jose for business?
San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. How was the experience over there? So because you moved out of the house. And how was for you? Because like I'm leaving my family. I'm leaving like not a comfort zone, but it's hard to leave your house. Like when you have your mom and your dad, and but you feel protected. You are moving, even if it's 3 hours away, but still you are not home anymore. So how was the experience for you?
It was very difficult, and it was actually probably the first rebellious thing I did to my family or with my family because, my dad, he was adamant about me staying home, living in San Jose and going to college at San Jose State or anywhere nearby, like a commuter school. And that was just the thing. He was like, nope, you're not going away to college. You're going to go here. You're going to go to, you're going to go to a JC and then you're going to transfer, or you're going to go to San Jose State, but you're going to be home. Right. And I kind of knew my parents couldn't really afford for me to go away. Yeah. Because it's additional expenses for housing and everything. Yes, it's so expensive. So, but what I did, I really needed, because my life was revolved around taking care of the family. And I did that, with love, because I love my family and my siblings. But I also realized that I needed to do something for me. And this was my chance. Like if I could apply for a college and go away, this was my chance to do one thing for me. And I felt like I needed that. I needed that, like that space to grow as a human being and in myself, and not having to nurture like an entire family. Right. And I don't say that because I didn't want to. It was that I needed some type of space for me to be a kid or a human or a teenager or just my own human. And it was calling to me to like, I need to go. I need this for me. So I secretly applied to colleges without my parents knowing, without my dad knowing. And I tried to get stipends from the counselors to pay for the applications. I was also working, so I paid for as many of the college applications as I could. And my boyfriend at the time, his mom actually helped me pay for some of the college applications as well, because she knew I was secretly doing it. My parents didn't know.
Yeah, you have like all that support.
Yes. And so I applied for colleges outside of San Jose on purpose. And what I would do is, because I knew when the application, the acceptance letters would come or rejection letters would come, I had to get the mail before my dad or anyone else. And so I'd come home, I'd get the mail, make sure that nobody saw the mail but me, right? And then one day I didn't get the mail on time. And my dad got the mail, and I forgot what school it was from. And he was like, I can't do his face, but he was like, "What's this?" Right? He was mad. He was pissed. He's like, "What's this?" He's like, "I told you you're gonna stay here. You're not going away. You're gonna stay here. We can't afford it." And so, I started getting acceptance letters from all these schools, all these colleges, and then I ended up telling him. I said, "Dad, yeah, I'm applying to go away. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna figure that out, right?" Mm-hmm. And so once I started telling him, like, I got an acceptance letter from this school and this school and this school, and then he just kind of sat and thought about it. Like, it opened his eyes to realize, like, yeah, my daughter can do this, right? She can do this. And it was almost like he was proud, but he didn't want to show me he was proud. Of course. Because he was mad that I did it behind his back, right? But ultimately, he was really happy at the end. As soon as I got all my letters, right? He was just really happy. And then it was about, what school am I going to go to, right? And then so I always knew I wanted to go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So once I got into that school, I was like, oh, yes. Because I had some friends on the cross country team that had went to that school as well. And so I knew about it and I heard about it. And it was not too far away. It was just 3 hours but far enough.
Yeah.
Right. So I ended up choosing that school. At that point, my dad was on board. He was like, "Okay, you know what, Mia, we're going to figure it out. My dad worked so much overtime to like help me pay for the dorms and the food and just to get by. Student loans. I had to take out student loans to figure it out, but then I'm still paying them today. Oh my God.
I feel you. I understand that.
So it was tough, but yeah, it was a journey, and I ended up going there, and it was a culture shock when I got there.
What happened?
Culture shock, because I grew up in Eastside San Jose. Mm-hmm. That was my world. That was my bubble. Like, I mean, San Jose was just, that's what I knew, and it's so diverse. I didn't realize that going away to college, especially Cal Poly and San Luis Obispo, most of the students there aren't from San Luis Obispo. They're from somewhere else, right? And so a majority of the population in San Luis Obispo are students. That's what makes up the town. It's a college town. And so when I got there, I was just in absolute shock, culture shock. I was like, wait, where are the people that look like me? Where are the people with brown skin? Like, where are what? This is what life is like outside of my bubble in San Jose, right? I was in shock, and I didn't realize how different life was going to be. I just thought, oh, college is going to be like how my life is now, just in a different place. No, it was different, and I wasn't expecting that. So very quickly you realize, like, wow, my parents don't make what they make, and I don't own that car, and it was just shocking, right? It was very difficult to adjust. But luckily, I found a good group of beautiful human beings, beautiful friends that I'm still friends with today, that we went through the same thing. We're all going through a culture shock, right? Mm-hmm. We were able to support each other along the way. And I found strength in theater as well. I did chicana teatro as well there, and I was in Mecha with my friends there. I was heavily involved with organizing and really just helping support our community, and then also worked with Upward Bound. I tutored high school students with Upward Bound. I even volunteered for Head Start. So I was doing a lot, in college that helped me connect to my community and connect to, what I was comfortable with and, the things that I knew. And that's how I was able to get through. But it was difficult. It was extremely difficult.
Do you remember an experience or like like a moment like you were like, oh my God, just want to go home, or what am I doing here? Why did I apply here?
Yes. But it wasn't, I don't think it was, I think it was just a combination of things. My second year, my sophomore year, I was, there was a point in my sophomore year, I was like, I want to go home. I was ready to go home. I was done. And you're in a new place. You don't have family around you. You're meeting new friends. Finances are tough. You're like, how am I going to eat? What am I going to eat this week? Right. There's just different things that you're struggling with, and you're like trying to manage in your school and, finals and midterms, and you're just in a foreign place, it feels like. And all of the support that you had before is not around you. And I had friends, right? The support group that I had, but it was new. It was a sophomore. So it was like, we're barely formulating these friendships, and it's just not family. And so it was difficult. And, I was just struggling. I was struggling in my academics. I was struggling in everything, just trying to figure things out, because it was a lot more challenging than anything I had experienced before.
Yeah.
And so I called my dad, and I was crying. I said, Dad, I want to go home. I'll just transfer to San Jose State. I'll just finish school out there. And, I'll move back home. Nope. You're not coming home. Nope. I was like, wait, what? I'm ready. You wanted me to stay here. Wait, what? You didn't want me to leave. I thought he was going to accept my call with open arms and say, go ahead, come home, Mija. We missed you. Come back. That was not how the call went. I was not expecting him to say no. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, no, like, I want to come home. He's like, nope, you're not coming home. You decided that you wanted to go away to college, and you started that. You're going to finish it. You started this journey. You better finish that journey. You're not coming home. You're not quitting. Nope. You're going to stay out there. We're going to figure it out. I'll work overtime if I have to get you to pay for whatever you need. We'll take loans. He's like, we'll figure it out, but you're going to finish.
Wow.
And so I stayed.
Yeah. I love the story because, you as a kid, you are expecting like, well, maybe he's gonna say yes and he will agree and we're gonna make a plan together. But he's like, no. But also, like, obviously our parents know the kids they have, so he pushed you. Like, he knew you're a resilient person and a strong woman, so it's like, she can do it. So she needs, like, maybe these powerful words. I'm saying, between those words, he's saying, I love you and you can do it. Right? But as a strong Latino man, you decide to go, you are going to stay. But he knew you can do it. And he saw the power of you. So,
Yes. He's always been really hard on me growing up. But when I look back now, because I thought, well, actually, I shouldn't say he's always been hard on me. What it was he always saw in me what I couldn't see in myself. Mm-hmm. And he knew what I was capable of, and I didn't. So he always pushed me because he knew I could do it. And so if I didn't have my dad there pushing me, whether it be my grades or staying at school and finishing college or whatever it was, he always pushed me to excel because he knew I could, right? And so back then when I was a child, I was like, but why is he so tough, and why this and why that? And I've said this many times before, but if I would get in middle school, if I would get a B, I'd get in trouble. Like, I'm like, Dad, but you don't understand. What do you mean? It's a B. Because he knew if he put the pressure on me, I was gonna do it, and I could get an A, but I just needed,
He was your coach.
Yeah, it's like my coach. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And then you are done. Then you are coming back to. No, you stay over there.
No,
You go
yeah.
to
After I graduated, I went back to San Jose. I actually had a few job offers. I had a job offer in Dallas, Texas, in Torrance, California, and then in Santa Clara, California up north. So I had to choose between 3 locations. Am I going to move to Southern California when I graduate, to Texas, or to back to the Bay Area? And so I was trying to decide which one I was going to take, because I have family in Texas, so I was going to be around family out there. I have family out here in Southern California, so. But then I at that point I had already missed home so much that I decided to go back home. So I went to work in sales right out of college. I was in outside sales.
I hear your story. Can you share one of those experiences? Because I'm like, wow.
My outside sales stories. Yeah. That was difficult. Because I didn't realize going into sales was going to be so difficult. But it started off with a very small base salary just to live. And not even live, it was probably less than poverty. And then you would make commission on what you sold. Right. So after a certain period of time, then you're commission only. So if you don't sell, then you don't make any money and you don't get a paycheck. And so I had already had my own apartment by then. I was,
okay. You were not living with your parents?
I did move in with my parents, right when I got out of college. But then I think within a year, I moved into an apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it was maybe within a year and a half after moving back to San Jose, I started working. And then, actually, funny story, when I did move out and got my first apartment on my own outside of college, my dad was furious with me. He was so upset. He was like, "What do you mean you're moving? What do you mean you're getting an apartment?" Well, Dad, I graduated from college. I'm an adult now. I have a job. I can do this. And he's like, "But you're not getting married, but you're not buying a house. So why are you leaving?
Why are you paying?
Yeah, you have a room here. Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "Dad, I want my own space." And he was so furious. He didn't talk to me after I moved out. He didn't talk to me for a little while. He was so mad.
My dad did the same one day. He stopped talking to me. So.
He was just being stubborn, and then finally he was like, "Okay, my daughter's responsible." Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, most parents would be happy their kids are moving out of the house, and no, my dad was like, "Wait, why?"
But it's also the fear, no? Like now, you are grown up. You see, like, oh, he was kind of fear, like, is she gonna be able, or I hope my daughter is not starving or something, because she has a home here, she can eat whatever she wants, and we don't want her to be like, yeah.
Yes, he's very nurturing too, and very protective, which I love about my father. But yeah, so I moved out, but that job was an amazing experience because it was sales, and so it was outside sales. Wow. Outside sales is you're opening up, a directory of all these businesses in your territory, and you are calling up the businesses that are aligned with the products and services we were selling. And then you had to find out who was working in what position. And then I would actually drive out to the businesses, walk in their corporate offices and talk to the receptionist, ask for meetings with, the buyer, or, whoever the contact was that I had done research on that was a decision maker for what I was trying to sell. I had to find that person, right? And walk in the door, talk to the receptionist. Remember, I'm an introvert and I'm very shy. And so having to challenge myself to walk in, talk to strangers, get rejected. No, you can't see that person. No, they're not going to take your call. No, right? On the phone, hung up. People hang up on you. They hang up on you. And having to go through that rejection of outside sales, but also getting the yeses. So after all of those, 20 phone calls and getting hung up on and told no and don't call back and don't bother. So, but still calling the next person and finding out who else could I talk to? Who else, maybe I can talk to someone in another department and it's just trying to maneuver and figure out, well, I got all these no's and all these barriers, but it doesn't mean that's a no overall. So let me find someone else in the company I could talk to.
Yeah.
Let me talk to someone in shipping, and then take someone else who's willing to take my call to lunch, or take so-and-so golfing. It's just, or building connections, even finding friends. You're the receptionist at that company I'm trying to get in. Can you tell me who does this? Who purchases that? Who makes the contract decisions? Like really just spending all my time doing that. And then, when we did get a yes, or I did get someone that said, okay, yeah, let's have coffee. Okay, yeah, I'll take your meeting. Oh yeah, I'll go to lunch. I was like, wow, okay. All I have to do is keep calling, keep going. It's a numbers game, right? And then when I would get, those connections, and then I would follow up meetings and really seek to find out their business and propose something, and then eventually get a contract signed or something sold, and then I would get paid. And I realized, like, oh my God, I did it. But it takes so much of that, and so much of resilience, and so much just, it's a numbers game. You just don't think about it. It's a numbers game. You just keep going. And then by the end of the month, I'm like, wow, I have a paycheck. That's pretty good. And then it gets to a point where the numbers get bigger and you get paid more the more you sell. So I was just motivated, right? You keep going, you keep calling, which translates directly to acting because it's the same thing, right? We're doing audition after audition after audition after audition after audition. No. I mean, they don't even tell you no. You just don't get it, right? And then all of a sudden, you get a role, and I'm like, yeah, there it is. It's the exact same thing. But yeah, that job, that outside sales job, taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for that experience.
And when you were doing that, when was the moment that you took the decision to get into the acting school?
Well, during that job, I paid for myself to go back to school, to take an acting program up in San Francisco at Shelton Studios. It was a 2-year program where it was an intensive program. So it was just 2 years of classes nonstop, and, classes in, theater technique, all different types of technique, movement, TV, film, script analysis, scene study. There was just so many classes in the program that you take for the 2 years. And then at the end of that 2-year period, it's like, okay, you're done now. All right. And at that point I had to make the decision, like, what am I going to do? And so I decided to get an agent in San Francisco, because that's where the market's at up north. And I got an agent right when I finished that program, within a few months, right? I got an agent. And then when I got my agent, I just decided to quit my job. I just quit my job.
You got the feeling.
Well, what ended up happening, I was at the point where I had been working in sales, I've been working in sales, which helped me pay for my school, my acting school, right? The 2-year program. But I was also saving to buy a house. I was saving to buy like a condo or a townhouse, put a down payment on a house. And I was single. I'm single, right? Like a single woman, like trying to make that decision to buy a house on her own. And I just finished this acting program. It was this moment, like this pivotal moment where I thought, okay, I'm an actor. I just finished this 2-year acting program. I'm a career professional. I have to make a decision on what I'm going to do. And so I thought, okay, I'm saving all this money to buy this house, put a down payment on a house. But this vision in my head kept on coming to me, which was a ball and chain. And the ball and chain was the house. And I kept on seeing, like, I'm an actor and I want to act and I want to, but the ball and chain is the house, right? I want the house because it's what I'm supposed to get. I'm at the point in my life where I'm supposed to do that. These are the steps you take.
Yeah.
what you're taught. But I thought, well, if I get a house, then I'm going to have a mortgage, and then I'm going to have to stay in this job, and then I'm going to have to, it's just a cycle. And that's not the life that I want. I'm buying the house because that's what my parents want for me. That's what society wants for me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to buy a house all by my, like, I don't want the material house. Like, I want to be happy and live a good life and do what I love. And so at that moment, with the ball and chain being the house, I decided I'm not going to buy the house, and I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to act full time. And I'm going to use this down payment to support myself. That's what I did.
Bravo. Wow. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because you have the money for a house. We all dream to have a house and you have it, but you're like, if I get this, I'm going to get an extra in the mortgage, and then your dreams are here. And you're going to turn. It's never too late. Never too late if you're in your 60s to do your dreams. But you were feeling like more far away from your dream, and you weren't wanting to act since you were a kid. So you follow the steps. Okay, I'm gonna go to the business school. I'm doing this. I'm saving money. You're doing everything right. You're like, it's finally my moment. It's finally this. I'm taking the decision, and wow, congratulations. I don't think that was easier. And maybe other people will go for the house, but happiness is what matters. We're here to be happy. We're lucky to be here, to be in this country. Yeah, like, yeah. Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow. And it's when you moved to, okay, so you get the agent and you started getting jobs in San Francisco. For how long? And yeah, can you share that? For how long you were in San Francisco acting, and then you are like, in 2020, you are like, I'm moving to LA.
Well, I was acting in San Francisco on those, that time where I first quit my job and started acting full time. And I realized I was so happy. I was so happy. It was probably like the happiest period of my life where I know I was good. I had money to pay rent. I had food. I had gas. I had everything I needed. And not more than I needed, just what I needed. But I was acting, and I was auditioning, and I was doing everything. I was doing student films. I was doing commercials and industrials. I was doing everything that I could in that period of time with no time, conflicts, right? Because I didn't have the job that I had to take time off from. It was just acting full time. I could take everything that was offered to me.
And it was not, I'm sorry to interrupt, but taking many projects at the same time, that was not a new thing for you, because since you were 12, you got a lot of projects on your hands. So you're like, so yeah, how was that also? Like, in one day you shoot here and then night shoots in another project?
It was, I did, what I ended up doing with that period of time was I hit acting so hard where I was on the, casting network site, and I was submitting myself for everything and anything. So my agent was submitting me, but I was submitting myself as well for stuff that I wasn't unpaid things. I was submitting for unpaid things because it wasn't about the paycheck. It's never about the pay for acting. It's just about being able to get the opportunity to act. And so I was doing everything that I could. And I met so many filmmakers and producers and directors and actors in that period of time. It was just nonstop acting and networking. And so it gave me an opportunity to build a very strong network up in the Bay Area. And, managing that schedule was the same. It was just doing exactly what I love, which was all of the acting. It was a lot easier, but also I had to structure myself because it was different from having a scheduled job. Now it was like, okay, call time's at 6 p.m. So then I have to go to sleep the night before because I don't have to be at set until 6. So it was just a different dynamic schedule. Yeah. But I got the opportunity to get exposure to a lot of that in San Francisco. And then at some point, I kind of plateaued where I realized I wasn't going to get any bigger credits unless I moved to LA because everything was in LA. And they had, TV and film and commercials out in San Francisco, but not a lot. And so I needed to move to LA to make it work. Right. So I did move. I have family in LA. So I moved with my aunt at first before 2020. And I stayed with her for a period of time, and I was looking for an agent out here, even though I had one in San Francisco. But she was for the San Francisco market. She wasn't for LA.
And she couldn't connect you with anybody here?
She had some connections, but most of them were up in the Bay. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't get an agent out here at that time. And so then I went back to the Bay Area because I had a feature film that I had just completed, and we were doing promotion for the feature. So we're doing, interviews, and we're doing the premieres in the Bay Area, in Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose. And so I had to go back for that. And that's when I went back to help promote that. And I ended up staying over there. Mm-hmm. But then, and then I went, I had obviously the money that I had saved for my house had already been spent by then. So I went back to work. So I went to get a temp job while I was out there promoting my feature film, temporarily, because I didn't move back. All my stuff was at my aunt's house in SoCal, but I got a temp job. And, luckily that position, which was temp position, I keep on telling them, I'm only going to be here for a short period of time. I'm going back to LA. I never left. It's because every time I've tried to leave that position, and, I have a business degree, I'm in management, I have experience. So I'm a leader for a STEM education customer service department. And so I got that temporary job when I went back to the Bay Area, and I never left because every time I tried to leave, it was like, oh, but we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll give you this. And so I ended up staying. But when I love what I do there. I love what I do as a leader, and I love leading people and helping people develop and grow into the best versions of themselves. Like, that's what I love. And I'm really good at leadership. Mm-hmm. And so being in that position makes me happy. Like, I love going to work on Monday morning, and the team knows that. And I hope they do too. So it's not one of those things where I go to work and I'm like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. No, I love what I do. And so they support me. Like, the CEO of my company, the founders of the company, they support my craft. They support my acting career. They've been out to watch my shows in San Francisco. Oh, that's really nice. My team, they follow my career. They support when I have a big audition or a film. Like, they want to hear about it, and they're really just supportive. Like I said, the CEO, most recently, I've tried to leave my company, I think 3 or 4 times now. And the CEO just recently this past year, he goes, Sonia, there's going to be a day where you're going to tell me you can't come and do your position anymore. But when that day comes, I'm going to support you and everything that you do in your acting career. But for now, I'm investing in you. I'm investing in you. I believe in you, and I believe in what you're doing. And what you do here, matters. And, there's a lot of change that's happening with the economy and the business. And so I help manage change. He's like, you're really good at managing change. And when there's, uncertain times, we need people like you to help lead in uncertain times. And so, if you need time off for an acting gig, a movie, if you need 2 weeks off to prepare for a film, you need a month off to go film something. He's like, take the time off. Just come back. And we're here, we're supporting you, we're investing in you. And we know we're going to lose you one day, but when that, until that day comes, we would love just to have you here. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow. Wow. That's really nice.
Extremely blessed and extremely fortunate. But I worked for that, right? I worked for that. I worked to have that position and that opportunity because I've given so much of myself to this company, right? And it doesn't come just because. It comes because I've given parts of myself to this company to help them survive. I mean, when COVID hit, we didn't know if we were going to make it as a company. And I worked, 12, 16-hour days to help the company get through those tough times. And without even thinking about it, didn't even, like, it wasn't a thing. It was like, I'm going to help this company. We're going to survive. And so, I give a lot, right? And so I earned that. And I'm grateful that I have a company that supports me, my career, and believes in me.
Mm-hmm.
But other people might say, oh, you're very lucky. No, it's not about being lucky. It's about, I work hard for this. I've been working all my life and I deserve it. And it's accepting too, because I don't know if you had problems accepting things into your life, like, do I deserve this? Not, should I get this? No, yes, you deserve it.
I've struggled with that almost all my life. And I like that I appreciate that you said that, because it's important for people to know that not until I believed I was worthy of my dreams did my dreams really begin to come true. And that took a long time. And like I said, when I was younger, when my dad was pushing me, it was because he believed in my dreams too. He believed in me. And I wasn't in the state of mind to say I was worthy of those things. It was like, and he was just really on me about it. And so as an adult, I know, and I see now, even recently through, my journey of growth and development as a human being, I am worthy of my dreams. And once I truly believed that I am worthy of what I want, what I desire, did those dreams start coming true. And they're rapidly appearing in abundance, right? Rapidly. But, even if you would have talked to me 3 years ago, I wouldn't have said I believed in myself in a lot of things 3 years ago. Even yesterday, we're always developing, growing, but it's so important for people to understand that the moment that you believe that you're worthy of what you have in your heart and what you want, that's when the things in your life start coming true. And they'll be gifted to you by the universe in different ways. Like, people that you meet that you didn't think would ever help you are going to give you things that you didn't ask for, because you believe that you're worthy. And that's where it starts. And then there's also the work. You have to do the work. You have to pair those things. Believe that you're worthy of them, and then do the work. Do the work. But enjoy what you do too, right? I'm not doing the work expecting things in return. I'm doing the work because I enjoy it. And so everything that I do have, it's not really luck.
No.
I can't say I worked hard all my life. And anyone who knows me, in a personal level, I'm friends with friends from kindergarten. I have several friends that I grew up with from elementary school that we're friends today. Everyone that knows me knows I work really hard. And no one who truly knows me can ever say it's luck. It's not. I work hard for my dreams. And they started really coming true in abundance as soon as I believed I was worthy of them.
And it's not an easy path. How did you work on yourself? Like, when was the moment like you are like, oh my God, yes.
Working on myself. I've kind of always worked on myself. I was always looking for ways how to become a better person, a better human being, whether it be reading a book on how to organize your calendar or time management or your home or finances. I was always looking for some type of personal development, but it was never really about the soul or loving myself until recently, maybe like the last 3 years. I would say about 3 years ago, maybe right before COVID, I was in a very dark place. And I wouldn't say I was maybe depressed. I wasn't diagnosed depressed, but I felt depressed. And I was in a dark place. And it was right before, like just a few months before COVID, and then COVID hit. And so I didn't have time to think about that dark place because for my company that I worked for, we were struggling to stay alive, right? As a business, we were struggling to keep the doors open. And I put all my energy into helping the company sustain. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't think about my personal feelings or what I was going through mentally, emotionally. We were just trying to survive. And so it was like work, nonstop. We were all working from home, but it was just, let's just try to figure this out. Yes. And then when we got things under control, I had time to self-reflect. Now it's like, oh, there's no work for me to like stay 12, 16 hours working on. Now I got to actually face the music, mm-hmm. which is myself, my mental health, and what I was going through emotionally. And then that's when it hit me. And I was like, oh, like, what is going on? People we knew were dying from COVID, and people were getting sick and were worried and were living in fear. Mm-hmm. And there was just this moment of like, what is going on with me and everybody in the world, and reflection. And if I die tomorrow, like, am I happy with my life? And did I really do everything I needed to do or was capable of? Did I leave a positive impact? Do people, what's my legacy? What are they going to remember me as? What am I leaving behind? And that's when I started to self-reflect and start healing and start realizing, like, what do I need to address? What are the shadows in my life that I need to address and heal? What's the trauma in my life that I need to address and heal? What are the things that were making me sad or feeling in that dark place that were not addressed? And it was like everything is stored in the body, right? So mm-hmm. all of the things that happen to us, whether it's an event when you were a child or an adult, or anything that happens in our lives, like we store that in our body, and we need to release those or process what happens to us. And it was like all of the things that happened in my life came to that turning point where I had to actually face it, right? Face all the darkness, face all the trauma, face all the things that I've been through in my life, things I didn't address, like how I felt. Maybe when I was a child, I was resentful that I didn't have my own life and I had to take care of everyone else. I had to address that. Yeah. I had to face that, and I had to heal from that, and I had to forgive myself and forgive my family and forgive, face that there was actually some type of feeling that I wasn't addressing. So there was a lot that I had to address and heal and seek help for and, process. And so that, like, COVID was really the moment where I'm like, okay, it's time to face who I am as a person and heal. And that it opened a Pandora's box, but it's a journey that I needed to start and go through. And that's what started that whole, oh my God, I've never loved myself. I never allowed myself permission to love myself. And not until that point, I started to look at how important it was to say, I'm worthy of my own love. I'm worthy of my own self-care and respect. And I don't have to put others first. I could put myself first, and that's not selfish. That's required. I should put my health first. And it was a give to everything else, my jobs, my family, to everyone, my relationships. I just give. And it came to a point where I realized I need to give to myself first, nurture my soul, my body, my spirit, my mind, my health first. And then I could be of service to others, right? And it's a journey though. It's a long journey, and I feel like I'm on the right path, and I'm happy, and I love myself, and I'm worthy of my dreams. But we're forever growing and learning, and I'm going to be a student until the day I die, and I'll always want to grow and learn as a human being.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Healing is not easy, and identifying our feelings and why are my I didn't know that I had that feeling from my childhood. You have to work on that. Yeah, it's not easy, but I'm glad you took the decision to work on that, because abundance is here, and you look happy. Your eyes can communicate a lot. a lot of things. Thank you for that. And going back to acting, I remember a story that you mentioned. It was and correct me if I'm wrong. I remember you said it was a play, but it became an adaptation. The Days of Wine and Roses.
Oh, yes.
And I love the story behind that. You said at the end of the day, there was a lady and she approached you. But I would love the audience to hear the story from you and not from me.
Okay. Yes, it's a very special moment for me. So make sure this is out of the way. It's a very special moment for me when we did that scene from Days of Wine and Roses. It was at the Shelton Theater in San Francisco. And, I hadn't been acting for a while, but that was one of those plays that is very visceral and very dark. And I gravitate towards the dark material. Like if you were to ask me to audition for something, I would look for the roles that were really dark and gritty and challenging. And if you were asking me to do a play, I would audition for the roles that were really those challenging, visceral roles. But this one in particular, the role for the female, she was, married, and her husband was an alcoholic in the scene, right? Mm-hmm. In the play, her husband was an alcoholic, and she was married to him. And in the marriage, he'd come home from work and he would want to drink, and she would, be home taking care of the baby. And he wanted a companion to drink with him. So then his wife, he would ask his wife to drink with him, and she was like, no. And then he convinced her to just sit and have a drink with me because I get home, I want to relax, wind down with my wife. So then she started drinking with him. But eventually, throughout the course of the play, she ended up drinking just as much as him. And then they were both, he was an alcoholic, and she had addictive tendencies. She was, addicted to chocolate and just different things. So she already had the addictive tendencies or the personality. And so when her husband was really kind of pressuring her to drink with him after work, that was their routine. So then it became routine, and then they both ended up drinking heavily. So the marriage starts falling apart because they're both heavily in, just going down to rock bottom together. The husband ends up finding help. He goes to AA, and he ends up getting clean for that period of time, but she doesn't. And so their life is starting to fall apart. The marriage is falling apart. She's losing her daughter. And so, they're separated, and she ends up just finding alcohol where she can, in the arms of other men and other situations, in any way she can to get to the alcohol. And he's watching this now as a clean and sober, alcoholic, and he's trying to convince her to go to AA and get help. And so in this particular moment, she's at rock bottom, and she's in a motel, and she's, just been with other men or another man. And he's come to save her, help her, do something to try to convince her to come home and get clean or get help. And it's a very sad moment, but I really gravitate towards telling these stories because as actors, we don't judge the character, right? We just try to empathize with them and understand them so that we can tell their story from a truthful place, from an authentic place. And I wanted to tell that story just because I was exposed to a lot of alcoholism in my life. And, my ex, my high school sweetheart, like just a lot of the people in my life dealt with those issues. And I was very familiar with that particular addiction. And so I needed to understand it. And so by playing that part, it helped me try to understand what someone may go through in that, being an alcoholic. So I needed to create empathy for the character and tell that story from a truthful place. So I did this scene, and it was probably one of the most pivotal scenes that I've done, thus far, aside from the most recent film I did. But I did that scene with truth, the only truth that I could. Mm-hmm. And after that, the one of the audience members came up to me, and I didn't know who she was, and she's just walking up to me, and she was just looking at me like with this stare. Like, and she was like, she just told me, you know, she thanked me. She said, "Thank you. That was me at rock bottom. And you told my story." And so it was a moment of, oh my God, it was a moment of truth, because I was able to touch her in a way that maybe she didn't feel ever seen before. And if I could just, I didn't do it for that purpose. I did it for me, but it helped her. I didn't know she was in the audience, and I didn't know she was struggling with that. But, you know, she shared that she had been sober for quite some time. And, you know, to have her to thank me for showing her a piece of herself, maybe that she persevered through and came back from, was just a piece of confirmation that telling the stories of the human condition is my purpose. And so, and it doesn't matter who, like, we never judge the character, right? It doesn't matter who you're playing or what you're playing. You have to have compassion for every human being on earth. And that human being's story was about that. And it was dark. And for her to like look back at herself and say, "Oh, that I'm no longer that. I'm healing, but thank you, because I needed to feel seen."
That's beautiful. And as you said, that was an affirmation, or doing what you're doing, of doing your calling, your passion. You are in a good way. If you were doubting in that moment, that was like no. She hugged you like, "No, keep doing this. We need to tell our stories in a different way, in a human way, like people can see." Because I don't know what he's been in that position yet, because you never know where life is gonna take you. But yeah, oh my God, that's beautiful. Oh, my skin. Yeah. And I know, and also you mentioned for another character, for that one, that you did train method. For the people who doesn't understand or doesn't know that, can you explain a little bit about that, and how did you get out of that? Because I don't think that's...
Yeah, there's a lot of different styles of acting methods, and I've learned a lot, but of different styles. But originally, I was trained method, and I read a lot of teachers and books on that. But really, it's about creating imaginary circumstances for yourself and staying in that and being that, like, that's who you are, being in that for a period of time. So you don't just go on set, action, you're performing that character, and then cut, you're done. It's, I'm embodying this character. I'm embodying the imaginary circumstances I'm creating for this character. And if this character is depressed and in a dark place, then that's where I live, in that imaginary circumstance of a dark place, right? And what is the depressed person going to go to sleep doing? What is the person in a dark place going to wake up doing? They're probably not going to shower or get dressed, or, there's just things that they're going to struggle with, that you're going to have empathy and compassion for, but you're going to also start, becoming those, and emotionally you're creating the imaginary circumstances for that. And so because you're kind of embodying that character in your daily life, right? Or as much of it as you possibly can in that. If you're filming, like, for a theater, if you're doing a film, it's different, but if you're doing theater, it's different too, right? It's just being in that place. And for me, when I was doing theater, I would, get into that method. And so if it was in this character where I'm in a dark place, then I'm not going home to be happy, and I'm not watching a comedy when I get home. No, I'm watching a very dark film, and I'm watching a sad story. And so everything I'm exposing myself to is all negative, and it's all that dark stuff. And I'm not going to go, to a birthday party, because I'm not in that place, right? And so then you're in that dark place because you're feeding that performance. But then when it's over, you have to snap out of it, right? And it's not easy to come out because you've been exposing yourself to all this darkness for that role. And I've done that in, a few of the plays that I was in. Some of it served me and some of it didn't. So when I realized it wasn't serving me, I needed to figure out how to get out of it. And so in other times it did serve me, where I was going through a breakup, and it was probably the biggest breakup of my life. I was a breakup with my high school sweetheart, and it was a very difficult time in my life. But I was also cast in Fool for Love by Sam Shepard. And the interesting thing was I feel like the universe brought me that play because I had always wanted to play May in Fool for Love by Sam Shepard, but the opportunity wasn't aligned with my timing. Maybe I wasn't available when it was running at a theater, or I didn't audition on time, or whatever it was. Whenever someone was producing that play, which I loved, I loved that play, and I wanted to play May one day. It just never aligned. But then I was going through a breakup. I got a call on Wednesday night, I think 10:30 p.m. I remember it clearly, from the director of that play at Shelton Theater, which they were running. And I was going through a breakup at that time. And I get that call on Wednesday night, and the director says, "Hey, we're producing Fool for Love. It's going to open next week, next Thursday. And the lead actress dropped out.
Whoa.
She just quit, and we need you to come in and play May." And I was like, and this is my acting coach at the time, Matt Shelton. I'm like, "Matt, I can't do that. I'm going through like a rough time right now. I'm going through a breakup, and I have all these personal problems, and I can't. It opens next Thursday. It's Wednesday. How am I going to learn an entire play in a week and a day?" And he's like, we need you. Just think about it. Don't tell me no. Sleep on it. Call me in the morning. So I slept on it, and I'm like, how am I going to, I've always wanted to do this play. And it never worked out before. And why is it coming now? I'm going through a breakup. I can't manage this. Like, I can't do this right now. Like, why is this happening? Why didn't it come when I was in a better place? Why is it coming now when I'm going through this breakup? I can't do this. And I slept on it. I woke up in the morning and I thought, no, this is what I need to do. I love acting. This is calling to me. The play I've always wanted to do is it's getting delivered on a silver platter. How can I say no? Why would I say no? And I'm like, I don't know. I've figured things out in the past. I've done things, tough, difficult things in the past. I don't know how I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it. And so I called him. I was driving to work, and I called him and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." He's like, "Okay, come to rehearsal tonight." And this is in San Francisco, and I'm working in San Jose. So I still have to drive an hour and a half to San Francisco in traffic to get to rehearsal. Rehearse all night and then drive back home and go to work the next day. And so I'm going through a breakup. I'm still working. I'm commuting, 60 plus miles to rehearsal and back. 120 miles round trip. And I somehow did it. I memorized those lines, and I was ready by opening day, by Thursday. But the blessing was that this play was basically the outline of what I was going through in my breakup. It was about a couple who were high school sweethearts, who were in that, turmoil and that back and that forth and the pain and, the past, talking about the past and what they've been through and the love and the passion and like addiction and the toxic, everything. It was all there in the play. So it was basically my life, with my ex. It was just that story being told in a play. And maybe that's why I loved the play so much, because it was so close to what I was going through, who I was. Not the same. It's a play, but just the feeling of it, right? The feeling of love and, the man that I loved, who, I'm going through this massive heartbreak with. This play was calling to me because it gave me permission to cry and scream and yell and feel all these emotions that I can't do that at work.
No.
I can't cry every day and
You
scream.
have to leave your personal problems behind.
Yes, right? I can't scream and yell and pound the pavement and the door, and I can't do those things. Like, it's not socially acceptable. So this play
No.
gave me the permission every night to rehearse and like pound the floor and hit the wall and yell and scream, and like the both of us, like the characters, it was so emotional, and it was just what I was feeling and how I wanted to express my pain, and it gave me permission to do that and process those feelings, right? The feeling of anger and heartbreak. I got to do that while doing this play, rehearsing for the play and then performing the play. And it was a blessing.
It is.
Yes.
It was. Wow. Wow. It was. And as you mentioned, yeah, you got it in the right moment. And it was beautiful.
And that was method. Because I was using, I was actually in that place. I didn't choose to be method, but all my method training prepared me to use everything I was going through to perform in that show.
Are you planning to do that play again?
I haven't thought about it, but
I would like to see it.
Some of my my team members at work went to watch that play. When you're on stage and you're in a theater and the lights are on you, you can't see the audience. It's black, right? So just the lights are on you. It's blinding. Mm-hmm. So all you see is the lights, and people are there because you can hear them laughing or crying or whatever. I mean, you can hear everything, but can't see them. And so there's a monologue that I'm doing in that play where I'm just like, not yelling, but like
fighting.
It's a monologue where I'm talking about my feelings and kind of processing things, and I'm just very focused and directing my anger. For me, it's just to a point on the wall. So like I can't even really see that. It's just like into the darkness. And I guess one of my team members was sitting in that direction. Uh-huh. And then after the play, he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, were you directing that towards me? Like, were you talking to me? I'm like, I can't see you. I can't see anybody out there. He's like, I felt like you were just looking at me and staring and yelling at me. I'm like, no, it wasn't. No, I can't see anything. But he just felt it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, it was just so, not in a bad way, but he was like, he thought I could see him.
Yeah.
No, I can't see you.
You were so focused in the monologue and your, wow. But that's really nice. That was a really nice way to put your feelings out, because who wouldn't want to do that, to be crying all the time? Because we all cry after a breakup. After a break, I'm sorry. We all cry. Just where it's a hiking of feelings, where someday we're sad and then we accept, okay, things happen for a reason, and where we I don't know. My hamster, I'm sorry, my apologies. My hamster is not working very well right now. But yeah, we were upset and then we cry again, and then we said bad things about that person till we would heal and we accept that and we're thankful for that, and then we'll move on. But not easy.
Yeah, art is healing. I feel art is healing, and I feel grateful that I found an art that I can heal with and heal from. I mean, heal through. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm acting, and I heal through acting. I not only heal my own self, but others too. Right? Like the woman who appreciated the darkness in the scene that she saw herself in. That's healing for her too. To say, I've overcome, and I've persevered, and I'm in a good place now. And thank you. But for me to have that play and to heal from it too, or to have the art, have access to find my art, have found my art, but heal through it and use it for healing. I'm so blessed. I feel so blessed to have found this and live it every day, live my purpose every day through it.
Yeah. Wow. And And then, okay, I'm gonna go back to 2020. You moved to LA. You don't know anybody in the industry. But I love what I heard. Like you said, you know what? I have to do networking. There was no events in 2020. So you set up an alarm every day for 30 minutes to be on Instagram and connecting with casting directors, producers, all of that. Can you share that experience and how did you connect with the project over there? And you guys are a family now.
Yes. When I first moved to LA, well, actually my second time, right? The first time I lived with my aunt, and the second time I came back was in 2020, August 2020. Our company went remote. We were working in an office, and then we went to work remote once COVID hit. And then everybody was approved to work remotely permanently. That's where I decided to move to Southern California and keep my job, right? But move to Southern California to be closer to the LA industry and elevate my work or my credits, my acting credits. So getting here, it was still COVID. Nobody was really shooting anything. If they did, it was very small projects here and there, but there were so many COVID regulations or unknowns at that time. So I decided to use that time. I was in solitude as well. When I moved out here, I moved into an apartment by myself and everyone was quarantined. So even my family that lived out here, I couldn't see them because they were all quarantined in their own homes and their own families, and I couldn't just go visit. So I was by myself. Everything was shut down. You know, gyms, restaurants, everything was shut down. So what am I going to do? I work, but then when I get off of work, I don't know anybody. There's just nothing like for me to do, and nobody's filming anything. What am I going to do with this time since I just moved back to LA? So I decided to be strategic about my time and my energy. So I decided to so what I would do is like, okay, well, let me just network. I've built my entire film production director, actor network up in the Bay Area, up in San Francisco, but nobody knows me out here. So I'm going to have to rebuild what I built out there over here so that I get those referrals and I get those calls from directors to say, hey, are you busy on this day? I got something for you, versus me having to pound pavement and, try to find something. And so I decided to use that time to network and build a rapport with the people that I wanted to work with. So I would go on Instagram and I would look up hashtags for filmmakers and producers, directors, actors, in Los Angeles. And, the search tool in Instagram is actually very helpful, right? Because I was able to find filmmakers out here, look at their content, see if it's something I want to work with, and then follow those directors and filmmakers that were doing things that I wanted to be a part of. And so I did that strategically. So I would put an alarm on my phone for 30 minutes or however long I wanted to spend on that day, but minimally 30 minutes a day. I would focus on doing that, looking at the hashtags, following the filmmakers, studying the filmmakers and directors and producers and networking with them, sending them a DM, sending them my resume, noting or commenting on their films, right? Watching their work, actually not just blindly reaching out to people, actually spending the time to watch their work and look up their credits and see what they've done. And I started networking with people that way and building a local network of LA, individuals in the industry. And so I kept on doing that and working towards finding a niche market for myself. Work that Chicanas like me could get, but also not just in that niche, but also other directors and filmmakers that I wanted to work with. But I quickly found, a community of filmmakers that I really wanted to work with. And I started reaching out, and then they started reaching out to me too. So, I met folks like David Manzanales, who reached out to me to audition for In Broad Daylight. And then Johnny Murillo from Chicano Hollywood. Some of the first few people that I met while I was out here. And then being on those projects with them eventually when things started to open up, meeting the people in those productions, working with them and networking with them. once, COVID allowed for filmmakers to film again, with all these regulations still, we started to film, but then it was just like people were on fire because we were in solitude for COVID. Everybody's like so ready to create because maybe they were, when we were in quarantine, maybe they were writing, maybe they were prepping that next production, maybe they were getting that next film ready. Everybody was ready to go once regulations started once we were able to actually interact with one another, and everyone was on fire. So just networking with everyone I possibly could, meeting everyone I possibly could, but also networking with them on social media, right? The hashtags and the time frame. They're minimally 30 minutes a day. That's what I committed to myself. And that paid off. Small habits, right? Those small habits that you set for yourself, they build up and they compound into bigger things. And I have a huge network now of people that I want to work with and enjoy working with and respect. And I appreciate that, it's like a farm, right? You plant the seeds and you water the seeds and you allow for the seasons to do its thing, like nature to do its thing. And then over time, your harvest comes. And so it takes time to do that. You can't just expect the farm to deliver the harvest. You have to plant the seeds and nurture those relationships, and eventually the harvest will come. And that's what's happening. Over all that time that I spent, planting those seeds and nurturing those relationships since 2020, we're in 2023 now, and the harvest has come.
No, and also it's about patience. If you're not a patience person, is that correct? Patience person?
A patient
person. Yeah, thank you. If you're not a patient person, you will not get there. If you think like, okay, it's been a week, I already spend 30 minutes every day on Instagram connecting with people. No, it's not gonna happen like that. It's like working out, whatever we're doing in our life. It's not like that, or applying for a job. I just built my resume yesterday. Why I'm not having calls from recruiters? It takes time. It's a habit, as you mentioned. So yeah, if you are not willing to make that, it's not a sacrifice, but it's an investment of time. That's not gonna happen.
It's patience, but it's also, it's kind of like auditions too. It's the same thing with auditions, where if I go into an audition or now we self-tape, if I do a self-tape for an audition and submit it, I can't sit there and wait for them to respond. I can't sit there and think, oh, I wonder if I got it. I wonder if they're going to get back to me. Oh, I hope I get it. If I am in that mindset, then I'm already defeating myself. What I have to do is do that audition, make sure that I prep and do the work and enjoy the process of doing that self-tape and doing the audition. And that's the work, right? I get the opportunity to act in this scene that I'm self-taping and submitting. That's the enjoyment. And then I give it away to the universe, which is the casting director. And then I move on to the next and the next and the next. And I enjoy it, but I don't sit and wonder what if or what happened or why didn't I get, no. You have to let it go. Just like, oh, I spent 30 minutes doing this hashtag thing and, and why am I, no. If you're in that mindset, then you're not growing and you're not moving on. You have to release what that work was and trust that it's going to be beneficial to you in the future, and you won't know how or when or why or where. It's just going to happen because you put in the work. So the patience that you're talking about is really releasing and surrendering, right? I did the work, so I'm going to surrender and know that that's good enough, and I'm going to keep working and keep working and keep learning and keep growing and iterating and getting better. And ultimately, it's going to pay off. But you have to believe that and let it go, right? And don't ask for. You have to give without wanting to receive, right? You can't ask for it to be reciprocated right away. You just have to do the work and trust that it's going to be good enough.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. And I changed my mindset like that, but it's with time. Because when I was younger and applying for jobs or whatever, I was like, why? You are waiting for that and you don't move on. And right now it's like, I apply, I have a job interview, whatever happens, I don't know. I'm moving on. And I'm thankful for the practice. Thanks. Bye. Whatever happens, it wasn't for me, and that's it. But you don't. Yeah, we don't. It's a lot of energy to put over there. Like, why waiting instead of putting that energy in a new project? I want to talk about your recently project, Addicted to You. How is it? I love what you said. It's a story about addiction and codependency. And also, you mentioned, and I can wait to see it, is from a woman's perspective. So, yeah, how did you come up with the idea, and how can you share the pre-production, production, and what's going on right now in post?
Yes. Addicted to You is a story about addiction and codependency, and it really it's kind of like my life story, but it's my journey. It's my journey of growth and healing, but it's also my mom's story and my grandmother's story. And I say that because when I was going through that breakup, right, where I talk about being cast in Full for Love, I was going through the biggest breakup of my life. And it was difficult for me because, it was a toxic relationship that I was in for a long time, but I loved him. And, he was my high school sweetheart. And it was hard for me to process. And it was also hard for me to process why I stayed in that relationship for so long. And in that process of looking back at why I stayed in that relationship for so long, I realized that I learned those behaviors from what was modeled for me and my family. And it wasn't bad. I've said this before, I'll go back and do it all over again. I wouldn't change a thing. I would do it all over again. But what I realized in my healing of that relationship and that part of my life was that my mom experienced similar things in a different way, but in her marriage with my father and her relationship with her father, my grandfather, and my grandmother and her husband, right? My grandfather and my grandmother on the other side, my dad's mom, hearing all the stories of what my grandparents went through, my grandmothers went through, or the memories that my dad has of his father, and the things that my dad went through when he was a child. I hear those things and I know those things. And so, when I was younger, it was always about respecting the women for having the strength to go through so much and to stay in it, right? To stay married and to just be tough enough to get through it, right? It was always about giving these women, their props for keeping the family together, which is beautiful, right? But it's hard to do. And I know that my mom has a story to tell. My grandmothers, I know they passed, but they have a story to tell. And it's really what they went through and why they stayed and how they were able to keep the family together, even though it was at times they struggled. But I wanted to give them a voice, and I wanted to give myself a voice to the understanding of why I was in that relationship. And what I realized was, I didn't know this when I was younger, when I was in it, but now I know we were codependent. And the people we were in love with had addictions, and we had addictions too. The addictions were to being codependent in that relationship. And so understanding psychologically what we were doing, why we were doing it, and what was modeled for us, and really what was passed down generation to generation, I wanted to tell a story of me, what I went through, and my mothers and my aunts and my sisters and my friends. And I say my sisters, not my sisters, but my friends, like the women in my life, right? And giving us a voice, because I want us to be heard. I want their legacy to be heard. Like, I want my mom's legacy to be heard and my grandmother's to be heard, because they went through so much, and it was out of love, but it was also out of, things that we didn't understand. So Addicted to You is that it's a short film. It's a love story. It's a drama, but it's about addiction and codependency. And so we're telling a short story, and it's fiction, right? Pieces of ourselves and all of us are in it, and it's from the things that I know my mom, I wish she could have said but she didn't say, or my grandmothers, I wish they would have said but couldn't say, or maybe things that maybe they don't want people to know, but that's what they were going through and that's what they felt. And so I'm giving them a voice through this film. And it's a short film, and we're I'd hope to make a feature after
that will be awesome too.
The short is released and we go through the film festival circuit, because there's more stories. It's a bigger story to tell, but it's
like the appetizer right now.
Yes. It's just the appetizer. I mean, but the appetizer is going to wow people. I know it's going to hurt and be painful to watch, but also healing. I hope it's healing as well. And I hope I can only wish that it gives, it helps people feel seen. It helps women in my life feel seen. And, giving us an opportunity to say, this is how I feel. This is what I went through. And the funny thing is, in the script are things that I wish I could have said in my relationship that I never said, or things that I wish my mom would have said, but she never said, or my grandmother's. It's saying the words we couldn't say.
Yeah, I like that, because I think we all had a toxic relationship, and then I've been through. I remember, yeah, I can say it right now. I'm older, but no, yeah. Like my first boyfriend, I was 16 and a half, almost 17, and it was a very serious relationship. But there were moments like, you have the flags, you see the red flags, you are seeing things like, why do I stay here? And then you blame the person, and at the end is you I was hurting myself. That was my learning. He kind of hurt me, but at the end it was me, because I allowed him to do that, and I stay in that. And why? That's the reason. I love that. I can't wait to see the film. Why do we stay in those relationships? Because we don't love ourselves enough. Yeah. We don't appreciate enough. Because I remember that Jacque, her self-esteem was here on the floor. That's why she allowed that. And I can't wait to see the film. I love that you said, in the script, there's things that I wish I could say. But now, if someone who is living that, oh my God, it will be like a glass of water or something,
like a realization.
Yeah, like an aha moment. Yeah. So that's beautiful. It's beautiful that you guys are doing that. And also, in another interview, you said when you were going through your relationship, I'm not sure is that one, but you had not a healthy relationship. Your dad told you can always come home. And I would like to know, before your dad's words, what were you feeling, and after his words, how do you feel?
You mentioned a couple things, which I think is important. Before I answer, about my dad and the words he shared with me, sometimes we think we're not worthy of better, or we just don't love ourselves. And like you said, our self-esteem, or not understanding that we're worthy of better, and we're worthy of good, solid love and communication and respect, and all the things that we want in a healthy relationship, right? And so I know that when I was in that relationship, I was in the state of mind where I didn't know self-worth. I didn't know self-worth. I didn't know self-love. And I was always working for that love. And I always thought I had to prove myself to get that love. And so you stay in it because I was always trying to earn the love. And that was not healthy. And I needed to realize that. And so now in my healing journey, when I look back, I'm like, okay, that's why I was there. And that's why I stayed. I was always trying to prove myself and not ever get there. And so now, I look at my self-love journey, my healing journey. It's about self-worth, right? Self-esteem, self-worth. I know that I wouldn't put up with any of those things at all, just because I know I'm worthy. I know I'm worthy of the love that is healthy and kind and respectful and, good. I'm worthy of good. And I don't need to work for it either, right? I could just be my authentic self, and who is supposed to be in my life is going to enter, and who is not supposed to be in my life is going to exit.
And we don't have to force anybody to be here, or beg anybody to stay, or I feel like love is not that complicated. When if complicated, it's like run away. It's not there, ladies and gentlemen. It's not there. But it takes time to realize that.
It does. And I've come to a point where, okay, we're not for each other. And if you're going to leave because I set a boundary or it's not something I'm okay with, then you're going to leave, and that's okay. And I have to, I know that that's okay. And I don't think twice. Right. So I'm in a good, healthy place of self-worth and self-love. And I know, I give love. I'm a loving person. I'm a very loving, nurturing person. But I also give love without expecting anything in return. And that's a shift as well. Where before it was like, oh, but I'm doing this for you and I'm giving you that. And I've been here and I'm loyal and this. So I'm like, oh, you owe me this loyalty. You owe me this love. You owe me this present. No, that's not what love is. Love is giving without expecting anything in return. And loving unconditionally. And loving the human being in your life for who they are, not trying to change them. So I'm learning all of that. And now, I can experience happiness and like I said, experience good things and then allow them to walk away if it doesn't align, but be okay with that because something better is on its way, or another chapter is around the corner, and that's okay. I'm of that mindset, but I'm also much happier now knowing what self-love and self-worth and all of that looks and feels like, and giving it to myself and loving unconditionally, loving without expecting anything in return. So I think, that's important. But back to my dad telling me those words, I think they were really important because at that point when he told me, years and years later, my dad, in the front of our house, when he knew I was struggling and he knew we were going through it, and he told me, Mia, you can come home. The door is always open. You always have a place to stay. Never feel like, you can't come home. We're always here, and I'm always going to be here for you. But he told me, I'm not going to tell you what to do in your relationships. I'm not going to interfere. I don't interfere in your relationships. You're going to do what you're going to do. And when you're ready, you're going to leave when you're ready. So I just want to let you know the door's open. So my dad's perspective was super important because he knew he could tell me till he's blue in the face, you should leave, you should go, he's not good for you. But it wasn't going to mean anything or do anything until I was ready to leave. And so he just needed to let me know that there was a safe landing. There was a safe place to come home to.
You were not alone.
That I wasn't alone. He was going to support me when I was ready. But he gave me the space to be ready. And he gave me the space to make mistakes and to learn on my own and be ready to leave when I was ready. And I came home when I was ready.
That's when we live an unhealthy relationship and we're ready. But that's beautiful because many people out there, sometimes they feel they're alone, so they don't leave those relationships. They don't. But nobody's alone. Like always, honestly, always talk with your friends. That's our job as a friend. Sometimes we just have to listen. And it's hard when we love someone going through that. But as your father, I've been there. Like I've been in that side and I've been in your father's side. Like I can't tell a friend to break up, but I'm gonna be here for my friend. And always like, hey, how you doing? And always checking on friends so they don't feel alone. And they don't feel like if I speak with my friend, they're going to be very judgmental. And then is when you feel like you don't have anybody.
Yes. just be there to listen and to support, you know. But everybody's going to go through their own journey in their own time. And, you know, you can give them guidance and support, but they're going to take it when their heart is ready and when they're in the right place to receive it.
Exactly. Sometimes people wake up in a month, other people in years. It doesn't matter. The point is to wake up. And also, okay, so here you were the executive producer in the main character. So can you tell us about some challenges that you had as an actress and as a producer here?
Oh gosh. So many challenges. You know, the weird thing is creating this film, and I worked with Four Ways Entertainment and Cinema Killers. So David Manzanales, Alex Filipino, you know, Chris LV Leva, Jeff Reyes, Echoes World, you know, Bernice Valle from The Streets to the Set. There's so many people that helped assist with, you know, the film, pulling it together, doing the table reads, you know, prepping, all of that. Steve Villegas, also a good friend of mine, with even preparing the story and hearing the process and supporting throughout the journey of the idea to reaching out to David Manzanales and the Four Ways crew to create the film. I had actually worked with them on In Broad Daylight in, I think it was June 2021. And I believe I came to them in maybe July of 2021 with the idea of the film. Talked to John Mercado, who
Hi, John.
you had. Hi, John.
Hi, John.
Who wrote In Broad Daylight. So, you know, just working with all of them, talking about my idea and really the story I needed to tell. And they helped, you know, they were listening to me in the idea process. And then I had the film storyboarded. And really the inspiration for all of it came from watching. I knew I wanted to tell a story, right? I needed to share this experience that I had in a short film somehow, some way. But during COVID, when I watched the film Malcolm and Marie with Zendaya and I think David Washington, I think, they filmed that film during COVID, and everyone was quarantined together, the filmmakers and the actors. And they did it on one location, and the time frame of the film is one evening, right? They get home from a film festival or a film screening, and then, you know, it's the next morning. But they were able to tell the story of their relationship and the pain that they went through in the dialogue as a couple in their home that evening. So then I thought, well, if they did this during COVID, they did it with the skeleton crew or whatever they had, quarantine crew, and they did one location, but I was able to learn about their story through their dialogue, then maybe I could tell the story of me and what I went through in a storyline over the course of one evening in one location. So modeling after that film, if I can tell a story one evening, one location in this, and it's the house that I live in right now, if I could do that, then I can make a film. I could create a film. And I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to tell a story that I need to tell. I need to express it and do it with the resources that I have. So I have the house. Let me start storyboarding the storyline. This is what's going to happen in the film. So I started piecing together what's going to happen. Well, they're coming home from a quinceañera, and, you know, the mom and the dad, or actually originally it was just the dad driving them home from a quinceañera, her and her daughter, my character and my daughter. And so I started visualizing, how can I make this film work? And so I got the pieces of the film to tell a story inside the house, in the laundry room and the bedroom, like all the different pieces together. And then I had my roommate's niece, she's, I think, 13. She's a great artist. I had her storyboard it digitally. She did a storyboard. I walked her through the house. This is how it's going to start. I'm going to drive up in front. She storyboarded that. She drew that. And then we walked inside, and we're going to be here, and the couple's going to be there, and this is what's happening. And so we kind of went through the whole film And we had the storyboard created, and then taking that vision to Four Ways Entertainment and saying, I want to create a film. Can we do this?
Yeah.
Can you write this? Can you produce this? Right? And so I came to them with it, and it kind of bounced around and tried to figure out who would be the best fit, for it. And so it ultimately landed with David Monsanales. He ended up writing it, and then he put bits of himself into it as well, into the male character, giving the male character a voice.
Yeah.
And because I'm speaking from the female character and what I went through. And so it was a good balance, and, raising the stakes as well. And so, working with the Four Ways team and really trying to formulate, the script of the story, and working with the entire team, and then, we moved some pieces around here and there. But the biggest challenges really probably came after we had already decided we're making this film and we're doing it, because things with scheduling, casting, changing the dates, all these different things started to pop up. But what I know about every challenge that we had it was because something was more aligned around the corner. And so I welcome all those challenges, because it elevated the film, and it really worked out. And even the day that we ended up doing it, it rained. the second day, like the last shoot, the last scene of the evening, it just started to sprinkle and rain right on the scene, but it was perfect.
Okay.
It was perfect. It was just absolutely perfect. So all the little things that were a challenge ended up becoming a blessing, and really elevated the film and brought it to what it is now. And it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful drama, beautiful, heart-wrenching, but healing drama. And I feel like this is my legacy thus far. I put everything I have into that role, because it was pieces of all of the generations of women that I know, and what they've given to love and family and their relationships and of themselves, and sacrificed is in that role in that film. And I just gave it all, and I was so exhausted and sick. I lost my voice 2 days before the film shoot. And I was thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? We're shooting on Saturday and I don't have a voice, and it's Thursday. I was sick. I just got over COVID. Talking about method, let me tell you what happened. This was a planned thing though. LV, our director, Chris Leva, he worked with the production team, David and Alex, and the lead actor, Anthony L. Fernandez. He plays my husband in the film. They all made an agreement. To keep it method, I guess. There's, the opening scene in the film, which you'll see. My husband is returning from being away for a period of time. And so I'm worried about him. And so what they decided to do, the director and the producers got together to instruct the lead actor to disappear. So the Thursday before we shoot, we have a rehearsal that's scheduled. I think it was 11 a.m. They told him to not show up to the rehearsal. And so I lost my voice, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. I guess I lost my voice. It'll give me a chance to rest. And so we were supposed to do a Zoom later that evening. He didn't respond to our phone calls for the Zoom. Friday comes around. He's supposed to be at the house for another rehearsal, and he doesn't show up. And I'm like, what? Is he okay? And so he said he wasn't feeling well. And I thought, well, maybe he has COVID. What's going on? What are we going to do? And then he stops. He doesn't respond to from Thursday on, he doesn't respond to my text messages or my DMs or anything. He just doesn't respond to me. He pretty much ghosts me.
Yeah.
The Thursday before the production. And we're supposed to rehearse. We have all these rehearsals planned and pre-production and everything to get ready, and I can't get a hold of him. And I tell the director, hey, have you talked to him? Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, let me try him. So you try calling him. Shitty, he hasn't gotten back to me. We were supposed to have a Zoom. He didn't respond. I'm like, what's going on? Like, where is he at? Is he okay? This doesn't sound like him. And I was so worried.
Yeah, because it's not only you are not only the lead actress, you are also a producer. So it's like, okay, if he's not responding, first, if he okay, if he's safe, or why he's not responding. If he doesn't want to be on the film, should we cast another person? Because we already have the days, the crew is ready. What's gonna happen? Oh my god!
Yeah, we have 25 people scheduled to be on set on Saturday.
Wow.
Everybody's scheduled, and the production team's ready to go. We've done months of preparation, and then the weeks leading up to it, everyone, Jeff, Reyes, and LV, and even Anthony, the lead actor, we've all been prepping so much for this shoot. It was just very alarming that he wasn't responding. So I was pissed. I was pissed.
That was the point.
I was sick. I was tired. I lost my voice. I was, we're prepping the house because we're shooting in the house that I live in.
Yeah.
Moving furniture. And I'm like, that's what? Why isn't it? What? He's not returning my call. We have a film shoot. I was pissed. I was angry. It went from all the emotions. I was angry. I was worried. Is he okay? Does he have COVID? What's going on? I was mad. I was angry. I was what? I even sent the script out. I was like sending the script out to someone else to you better learn this script and you're going to improvise. If he doesn't show up, you're going to step in and you're going to film this. I am not going to not shoot this film. I'm shooting this film with or without him.
Yeah.
I need to have a backup plan. So I have my backup plan, trying to, figure it all out. We're going to film this. But I was so pissed off because he was behaving the way my ex behaved.
Oh.
And I was just feeling like everything in this role.
All over again.
Yes. And I was like, okay, he disappeared. He's not responding to me. Nobody can get a hold of him. Where is he at? Is he okay? Is he alive? Is he sick? Did he get in a car accident? Is he in jail? Where is he? Is he okay? Is first and foremost, is he okay? And then now what am I going to do? I have a film shoot. I have a film production. We're shooting tomorrow. What do I do? I need to prepare any backup plan. What do I do? I need to solve this problem. All these things are going through my mind. I'm sick. I lost my voice. So ultimately, he had a call time of 2 p.m. on Saturday. He didn't show up till 2:30. I was so angry. I was so mad. But apparently it was all set up. The director, producers, they all set it up. They all did it on purpose. They kept us apart from makeup and hair. They kept us apart. So I was in my room. He's like, go in your room, just focus. Don't worry. Just focus on the role and we'll take care of everything outside. And so, the director had me secluded from everything else. So I didn't see him until we did the first take. And so I look at his eyes on that first take and I'm furious. I'm so furious because they said, I didn't know they set it up, but they set it up so perfectly.
It was perfect. It was well
and that
done.
Was method,
well
right?
done.
It was method.
Yeah. Well done, production.
Oh,
I can't wait to see the short film. Do you guys have any idea when it's coming up?
Well, we have a rough cut right now. It's about, I think last I heard from Elmi was about 21 minutes. We're trying to cut it down, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
So pretty soon, because we have some deadlines coming up for some film fest submissions. So pretty soon, within the next couple months, but hopefully sooner, because we do have to complete post. Mm-hmm. So it just, depending on all the factors, crossing fingers in the next few months, we can get it, we can get it completed to, color correction, sound, engineering, all that. Yeah. So, in the first quarter of 2023.
we will be there. We will be there. Just want to say thank you. I know I'm taking over your time and the time of my friend Adolfo here. Just want to say thank you for your time and thank you for sharing all of this. I'm so happy. I'm so inspired. Just gonna do a couple of questions that I always do to my guests. Who inspires you?
Probably someone that is not alive anymore.
Yeah, my parents. They're always going to be my inspiration. Just to know what my parents have been through as children and how they just who they are today and what they've been through growing up and what they've experienced, just understanding that and seeing how happy they are today. They're retired and they're safe and they're secure and they're, you know, they have a good family. People love and adore and respect them outside of us, right? And to know that they're okay. They made it through. They persevered. They worked for everything that they have. And they're happy. And we're not rich. It's just we have enough. And what we have most of is love. And we have family. And that's just beautiful to see that they're happy with the family and the love that we have and that we share for one another. I think that's beautiful. So they inspire me every day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What's the worst advice you had been given?
The worst advice I've been given. This was actually given recently.
Oh.
The worst advice I was given, I don't know the worst, but maybe some of the recent advice I've been given that wasn't good, was to hide who you are as a person. To get more roles, to kind of almost assimilate your identity and your name to fit into roles that would expand your opportunities in your career per the advice. And my friend Bernice and I were like, wait, what? We were we received the same advice. And it was interesting. It took a while to kind of swallow what I was hearing because it was from a respected individual in the industry. And I thought, wait, what? You're saying to change my last name so it doesn't sound Latina. It's just, I shouldn't have to hide who I am as a person to fit in to get more mainstream roles. I should arrive as I am, be respected, the color of my skin, who I am, how I talk. And if I'm going to get a role, I should, earn that role for who I am and not try to hide who I am, not try to become and look like someone else. And so that, I think, it's the sad thing is that it's recent advice, and that's bad in the industry, right? Like I'm trying to tell the stories of my people and the Chicano community and the stories of my mothers and people who look and talk like me and been through my experiences. Why should I try to be someone else and tell someone else's story that I know nothing about? Right? Let me be who I am and tell these stories and share them and create art with authentically who I am, right? And not have to change me as a person to get more roles.
I can't believe it because it's 2023. That advice, I believe many people got it like 20 years ago, but today is like embrace who you are. And this is who you are. If someone is gonna give you a role, it's because you're acting skills. And if because they love your audition, not because of your last name. It shouldn't be like that, but I kind of got the feeling it's still like that. And why you should be in a box? Why are you gonna follow some formula to fit in something that you don't believe?
Right. And it was shocking for me too, because when I was in the Bay Area, when I was auditioning for roles in the Bay Area, my agent, she wouldn't submit me just for Latina Chicana roles. She would submit me for everything. If it was a woman, a female role, and I fit the description, then she would submit me. So if I went into a casting office in San Francisco and there was a room of 200 women, some of them were blonde and blue-eyed. Actually, a majority of them were blonde and blue-eyed. And I was the Chicana showing up with brown eyes and, dark skin. So, but my agent was really good at submitting me for roles regardless of my color and regardless of my ethnicity. Like, she would submit me and I would get those roles because I earned it through the audition. Yeah. So I'm so blessed to have that first agent who didn't care if it said she needed to have blonde hair, she would still submit me. And if the casting director wanted to see me, I would still get an audition. And then I would still get roles. So she didn't pigeonhole me.
Yeah.
And I respect that about my first agent. Then to come here and then to hear that, I'm thinking, and that wasn't from my agent, that was from a seminar.
Mm-hmm.
But I was shocked. I was thinking, why? No, we need to show up as who we are. And if we're going to get the role, we will. And if we don't, then they're going to choose someone else. But I shouldn't have to change who I am or change my last name to think that it's going to serve me. No, I need to show up as myself. And then we represent. We need to represent so that isn't an issue. We don't have to do those things, right? You need to represent the population and represent the people and represent even the viewers of the art that we create, right? There's not enough representation. And so I'm not going to change my name. I'm not going to change who I am to fit in some other role and look like I'm, not Chicana. That's not what I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. So, that was probably the most terrible advice I've recently received.
Wow. No, thank you for sharing. And people who are listening to us, please listen to Sonia.
Don't do it. Keep your name.
Yeah. And last question. What legacy would you like to leave in this world?
Love and healing. I want to leave a legacy of love. I want people to have felt love for me in some way at any point in my life or their life, or just love. If I can leave, if my nieces remember me as, the Tia that gave love, then I'm happy. If the people I went to school with or the people I work with or the people I lead, if they can remember the love that I give, that's my legacy.
Beautiful. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. I'm so happy. Thank you to everyone who is watching us and listening us. Thank you. Have a beautiful morning, day, or night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We definitely have to do part 2.
I know. I don't know. Are you looking at the time? Okay. I don't even know what time it is.
No, I know the time. So I was like, oh my God, I'm super
There's
late
so much
for
to talk about. Oh my God.
It is. How do you feel?
Like I talk so much. I almost feel bad that I talk
Again?
so much. I don't know why.
We have this conversation.
I know. We already did. I feel like you made it very complicated for me to share, and so I just made it very complicated. I don't know